Welcome back, everyone. Bart and Jennifer Mills back with us today. They're doing some movie reviews for us. This time they picked the best summer road trip movies. What a great theme. The ones you picked were just awesome, too. Let's start out, Jennifer, with Midnight Run. This is one of my favorites because Charles Grodin is one of the most underrated guys in the world, especially for road trip movies. These two, along with Robert De Niro, kind of the perfect mix. I mean, they just hate each other.
Well, Charles Grodin is the best straight man that there is in Hollywood. And he's just, you feel for him, you love him. But De Niro he just drives De Niro crazy. And it's just the chemistry between the two of them and the script is just so good on this movie.
If I remember, Grodin, now he's an accountant, or at least a former accountant for the mob. And then De Niro's a bounty hunter. He's got to get him somewhere. And basically everybody in the world is after them, right?
So De Niro has to take Grodin from Chicago to L.A., and he has to get him there by midnight in order to collect his bounty. But Grodin tells him that he can't take a plane, which obviously would be the simplest way to get him there, right? So De Niro has to take trains, he has to take buses, he has to steal cars, he has to do everything he can in order to get him to L.A. by midnight.
You know, De Niro to me is underrated as far as being in comedies. Not that he's hilarious, but I think of some of the movies he's done with Ben Stiller. He's pretty good in comedies, isn't he?
Well, I think this is where it started a little bit. I mean, I think that De Niro has De Niro's good in comedies when he's playing De Niro. Right. The problem is, a lot of times in some of the later comedies, he ends up sort of playing a buffoon version of De Niro. But in this, in this movie specifically, he's still that young, potentially lethal De Niro. He's not the caricature of himself yet, and it's really fascinating. This movie holds up really well.
Yeah, it was just on the other day, and it's just as great as it was back in 1988.
Yeah, another one that's on your list that holds up well too, Bart, is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? If people haven't seen this is a must-see, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, we picked road trips because it's summertime and everybody's doing that. But at its core, every road trip movie goes back to the OG, which is, Homer's Odyssey. And this is literally a pickup of Homer's Odyssey by the Coen brothers. And it's just, it's one of those movies that it's a great needle drop movie. You can drop into it anywhere you want to. If you've seen it once, you can watch it 1,000 times. It's the dialogue is great. The acting is ridiculous. And, you've got some George Clooney. Talk about a guy who probably should do more comedy than he does. And, it's just a brilliant musical movie, and it brought old-timey music back, so that's nice.
Yeah, the soundtrack is excellent. Jennifer, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, this is one of those that made me wish that Steve Martin and John Candy had done more movies together.
Right. So you've got, director John Hughes, which is who directed so many fantastic movies back in the 80s. Again, you've got two guys needing to take a trip. This time their their plane gets canceled because of snow, so they end up in Kansas. And they want to get home. Steve Martin wants to get home for Thanksgiving to see his wife. And so he ends up partnering up with John Candy, who is a shower curtain ring salesman. And the two of them travel across country to try to get back home. And just all kinds of craziness ensues. And it's just all kinds of fun. It's so cute.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it's got heart, too. This list was probably tough to narrow down. Bart, what else was on the cusp of making the list?
Well, we put on Road Trip just because of the name. Then we watched it and realized it doesn't age that well. Right. It's not that old, but it didn't age well. And then we also added The Trip, which is there's an actual series with Steve Coogan. There's 3 of them: Trip to Italy, Trip to Greece, and the original The Trip. And if you ever have an afternoon free and just want to watch food porn, travel porn, and just 2 very funny British guys improving over food, it's a great way to spend an afternoon.
That's it. All right, great list, guys. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Nice chatting with you. We'll be back right after this.